Welcome to the Monday, June 14th, 2021 Kubernetes SIG Apps meeting. If you don't already have it open, I'm dropping the agenda into chat here so that you can get to the agenda. We have a couple items already up there. If you have something else that you wanted to talk about today, please feel free to add it in the discussion section after the two items we already have. There is one announcement that is not listed there. I wanted to share that after 5 or 6 years, more than 5 years of chairing Kubernetes SIG Apps, I, Matt Farina, am going to step down from that position. We have 3 very capable other chairs who can continue to wrangle this, but I have not had much time as of late. And so it's better to leave it in the hands of people who have the time and they know what they're doing. This is me. This will be my last time chairing a meeting. And then after that, I'll be going through the process to step down. It's been a wonderful 5-6 years doing this. Can't believe it's been that long. And so with that, we'll go into our discussion topics. And oh, yes.
I would like to thank you, Matt, for bringing, first of all, for bringing in SIG apps into tradition, because I'm not sure if people are aware, but Matt was actually one of the initiators of SIG apps back in the early days of Kubernetes. So thank you very much for creating SIG apps, which is this amazing group of people, and thank you very much for leading SIG apps with example, with your thoughtful word, with advice over the past years.
Thank you. Thank you. It's been a fun, interesting journey. I mean, I remember when it started and there wasn't even the workloads API. It's been a long time. Thank you. So with that, I believe we have a demo first of dev file. Do we have somebody on who is going to present that?
Yes. Hello, Matt. I'm Mario Riedo from Red Hat, and I'm here with Ida and Andreas from AWS. I'm going to share my screen to so I have a presentation to show. So before actually we go through the demo, we have some slides.
Okay. You should be able to share your screen now.
Yep. Can you see the screen?
Yes, we can, or I can.
Okay, cool. Okay, yeah. So I'm going to so we're going to present the dev file, and the reason we are here actually is because we want to propose the dev file, that is a file specification, as a sandbox project, a CNCF sandbox project. So we wanted to get some feedback before actually submitting the proposal. So I'm going to start with the agenda, and so we're going to go through like the motivation why we are doing that, with some specification, so how we are actually doing the specification of this file, and then we're going to show some similar projects, the dev file registry, and then 2 brief demos of 2 tools that leverage the dev file today. And then we'll do some conclusion with our roadmap and what we think we need to do to submit the dev file as a sandbox project. So I'm here with, as I said, with Ida and Andreas that will help me with that presentation. So let's start with the motivation. So what actually is the problem? So the problem is developers should spend their time coding. But with the rise of microservices, cloud applications, and even before that, so the problem is that we spend a lot of time configuring our development environment. We have trouble to replicate problems that happen in production because we're not able to have a development environment that is identical to the production one. We are slow in productivity because often, since we're not able to build or test properly on our IDE, we use like the CI or some external services, and we need to wait the feedback from that. So these are problems. And maybe Ida, do you want to add something to that?
Yeah, my name is Ida, and I work as a product manager within AWS and their developer tools department. And when we go and talk to developers and gather feedback on how can we help out and be better, what pain points can we solve for, the development pain point still comes back to how difficult and cumbersome it is to get a proper environment up and running. So if not part, it can even be most of the time that developers spend just managing their dependencies or their dev tools. So that's what we are, like the motivation for us in our interest in joining the collaboration around the dev file has really been to figure out how we can address these pain points of spending time in the right place, which should be coding and not on getting set up or worrying whether or not you have the same environment as your teammates, because it doesn't just slow down you as an individual, but the whole team if everybody has these hard-earned environments that are hopefully identical, but not always exact matches.
So the ideal development environment should be simple. So you should be able to create that with a click, just clicking on a button, and it should be reproducible so that when a new developer comes on the team, he will be able to reproduce it right away. And it should be fast, so we should be able to get a feedback early when we are developing.
And that's very much in line with what we hear when we're out from AWS side to talk with developers, is that since it's so difficult today, what would the ideal be? And that is the ease of creation, that you would have the notion of easily sharing an environment with your teammates and having sort of a good assurance that it's an identical environment to what you have over in the CI/CD product process line. And then also just that it's a fast process, and you have this idea of your development environment being connected to the cloud native application up in the cloud.
So what if there was a simple vendor neutral standard to specify repeatable, fast development environments? So a file specification that is really specialized in development environments. So that's what we wanted to do with the dev file. And this is how dev file looks like. So these are different, at eye level, the different sections of a dev file. It's a YAML file. It has a first section where we version the API so that clients can tell exactly what version of the API they're using. And then there are those three main fields, those sections. The first one is components. So components are containers or other resources like volumes or any Kubernetes resource. And that is used in the development environment to build, to test, to debug the application. And then there are some comments that are associated to the components. And those comments are usually the comments that you have in an IDE, where you have a command that will let you build the application or run it, or like start a database, etc. And the last section are events. Those events are related to the life cycle of the development environment. So when you start your development environment, you may want to pre-build your application or even run it so that you're able to test one pull request that somebody did with just starting your development environment and checking out the branch of the pull request. You can just build and start the application right away if you have that in the events section. So if you have the build command in the post start, build and run command in the post start events. So that's basically it for at the eye level. There are more details than that, but I don't think it's really useful for this short demo. But the important thing is that we thought about the dev file as a file that should be versioned with the application, with the source code. So you should put it in the Git repository, so that when the tools are checking, when you check out your application, you will be able to also to start your development environment. Let's say, so there are those are like similar formats that already exist. So Ida will let you present those.
Yeah, I won't bother going into the details of each of one that we have listed here. It's just to show that we have a lot of what I would call sprawl in the market right now. There are different attempts of a Dockerized development environment, but they're all slightly variants of the same theme. So what we are really looking forward to working on the dev file is to create this like an open standard that's really compatible with whatever's on the market today. So whether you're using a Git pod YAML or a dev container JSON, you should be able to just rely on the fact that it can be compatible with a dev file, and that you can get this sort of code-ready environment up and running that just understands exactly what kind of tooling you have specified alongside the source code in your repository.
So we're coming to the last part of this introduction, and that's about the dev file registry. That's something that we are currently working on. That's not yet available, but the goal, so the idea for us is to have a catalog of dev files available online, so that so if somebody wants to get started with a Java project or a Go project, we can provide. We have a catalog of dev file that should be contributed by the community. So yeah, those would be community dev files. So I think that's it for the introduction. So now we're gonna show a couple of demos. So I will start with the dev workspace Kubernetes operator. So as the name shows, it's a Kubernetes operator. So that means that the dev workspace is an extension of the Kubernetes API and a Kubernetes controller. So for the API, I'm going to I have a cluster, a Kubernetes cluster here, where I've deployed the dev workspace operator. So if I do a kubectl explain dev workspace here, it should show me some documentation of that API, because I've deployed the CRD here, and those are all Kubernetes objects that are reconciled by the controller to configure a development environment. So how does that relate with the dev file? So this is a Kubernetes API. How does that relate to the dev file? So the dev workspace is actually so the dev workspace object, Kubernetes object, as a dev file in it. So if I do the same, so that the kubectl explain dev workspace, and I go inspect template, I will see that the fields here, so the commands field or components field, events field, there are other fields that are other details of the dev file, but those are actually the section of the dev file. So what we do is that we are creating automatically from the dev file, that is a file specification, we create a Kubernetes API. So to be able to create from a dev file, to create a Kubernetes object, and that object will actually power development environments. So, and if you wonder what does that mean, what's the development environment, so I can show you, because I have I should have a dev workspace here in my cluster, and it's running, and I have a link to that. So if I click here, there is an IDE that will open. That IDE is actually running in a container, and it's a sidecar of the dev file component of my project. Yeah, now it's open and I see it. So I have my source code here, and in the source code I have a dev file. So that's just a simple Sprint Pet Clinic fork that is available here, and that has a dev file here. So the dev file has one component that is using a Maven container that allows me to build and run my application. And the dev workspace has added as a sidecar an IDE application that allows me to access the source code and clone the source code from my IDE. But basically, then I will be able to do Java coding and to use the command palette. So I'm using TIA, that is an IDE that runs in your browser and it's similar to Visual Studio Code. But that's one example of an IDE. It can be changed. So it's just running in a sidecar container. It can be configured to be another IDE. And if I see the list of tasks that I have here, I have build and run tasks that were defined in my dev file. So, and if I do build, for example, it will run the build for me. So the build is the command to build the application is defined in the dev file that is actually here. So that's actually the command, and then I have a command to run. So I can share the dev file with my team, and they will be able to build, run, debug the application with that. So that's it for my demo. So we'll let now Andreas, so we'll stop sharing and let Andreas do his demo for the dev runner.
Thank you, Mario. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yeah, let me see.
I just enabled it so you can share your screen.
Thank you. Let's see, can you see my screen?
Not yet.
Okay, not yet. Let me see. Here. How do I? Do we know where I can click or?
At the bottom, there's a share screen button.
Let me see. It doesn't appear to be on my end. So I see security.
I had a warning in Chrome, so I had to accept in order to be able to share the screen.
Let me just refresh the page and.
Do you see a button to share your screen now?
Unfortunately not. I see pause and stop recording, which I'm assuming won't do that.
No, I look in the where you see the participants and chat, and
Yes.
next to that, do you see share screen at all?
No, it's not there. Maybe I need to.
Andreas, did you switch over to the client, or you doing
I'll
browser?
switch to the client. 1 second.
All right. Well, we're waiting. If anybody has any questions so far, now might be a time to discuss those if anybody had questions. I do have a comment. You said you're going for CNCF sandbox. If you land in the sandbox, one place that you could have people share their dev files through and make them discoverable is the artifact hub. It would have to wait until it actually made it into the sandbox. But that's one place you might want to go look to make them discoverable after the fact.
So, so it's the artifact hub. Where can we have more information about that?
If you go to artifacthub.io, you can learn about it and see what's up there now. And in order to be listed in the Artifact Hub, something has to be through an open source foundation. So once it lands in the CNCF as any kind of project, then artifacts can be there. And you can find things like Tecton tasks in there, stuff like that. And so you can see examples of the kinds of things there. All the code is open source and on GitHub, and there's a link to the project there.
Okay, cool, thanks.
And what could be cool is having a dev file for editing the Tecton task as well.
Yeah.
Okay, I think I got it. I needed to switch browser. Let me see. Oh.
All right. Do you see the ability to share your screen now?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Fantastic.
Entire screen. Can you see my screen?
Yeah, we can see it.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Sorry for that. So my name is Andreas Resius. I'm from AWS, similar with Ida. We work together, and part of our work is related to the dev file format. And similar to what Mario showcased, we also have the dev runner, which is a different runner for that's using dev files, but instead of the Kubernetes is using Docker as its backend. And today I'm going to showcase you what we have so far for it. So the dev runner is actually a Docker CLI plugin, so which allows you to kind of create dev environments using like the definition stored in your source code. So if I do Docker help as part of the output, we have now, similar to how we have compose or build X or scan. There's also devenv, which is a plugin for containerized development environments, and this one can be used similar to Docker Compose. So we envision it to have like some simple commands. So it allows you to start and stop via the up and down commands. It also allows you to infer a definition from a certain project. So in case customers don't have a definition, we can suggest one for them. And we also allow a conversion between different formats to the dev file, so that customers who have, for example, a Git pod YAML or a dev container JSON can use it. So for today, I'm going to showcase how we can start a dev environment for a simple Hello World Go project and attach the IDE to it, which in our case will be VS Code. So I do dev container up, and this will read the dev file and start the container. And after this, in my IDE, I can use the remote explorer to attach to the container. So once the IDE is attached, I'll have all the functionality that I did before, but in contrast to what Mario showed, VS Code doesn't use a sidecar, but injects itself within the container. So it's running as a separate process within the container. So this allows it to kind of like reuse all plugin capabilities that it previously had. So like language servers and everything will work out of the box, as we'll see in a minute. So now I have like the standard the standard hello world for Go. I'm in my source code. I have my terminal. I can I have the tools, so I can do to build it, and everything works as I would expect it. So another functionality that we currently are working on is the ability to infer. So again, let's say I have like a standard Maven project, but notice that here I don't have the dev file. But using the dev runner, I can like infer the suitable dev file, which in this case, because I had like a POM XML file, the dev runner suggested me a Java type image. So here we created like a dev file with one container component that's using the dev environment's Java image, and now I can just use the dev file to start my my environment. So now I can go back to work. So this is all in early phases. So it's not yet open source, but we are planning to do that in the next couple of months, working together with the dev file community. This was kind of like the demo. I think, Mario, we still have some slides.
Yes, I will share the screen again, and you should be able to see it. So I have a couple of slides just to, yeah, that was the AWS Dev Runner demo, and so this is used by other tools as well. So Eclipse.js. So and I've been working on Eclipse.js for the last 5 years, and we have been the first one using the dev file, and we are using it to define the development environments. Then there is Odo, a command line tool for developers for Kubernetes and OpenShift, and the OpenShift Developer Console, and as mentioned, the dev runner. The roadmap, so won't go into the details here, but as mentioned, the dev file registry, we want an online service that tools that know how to use the dev file will be able to leverage. And then we want to have a better outer loop support. That means to be able to specify components using Docker file or compose file or Elm charts, so that to be able to reference those artifacts, those different types of artifacts from a dev file, so that we can include those in the development environment. And then, yeah, there is, as Andreas mentioned, open source of the dev runner, and then Eclipse.js that is currently using the version 1 of the dev file specification is going to move to the version 2 in the next months. And then, yeah, there is the CNCF submission. We have created a new logo. We are in the process of relicensing the source code from EPL to Apache, And then there is a redesign of the dev file landing page, devfile.io. And yeah, then when we'll have those done, we'll fill the proposal form. So yeah, if you have any questions or any feedback on how to present that so that we have more chances to be accepted as a CNCF sandbox project, so that will be yeah, really useful for us.
All right, thank you. Does anybody have any questions? Well, thank you for coming and presenting. I look forward to seeing what happens here. If anybody has any questions or follow-up, you can see their names in the list. I would assume you can reach out to them. Thank you. This was great. I'm curious to see what comes of this. I know there, as you pointed out earlier, there have been tries at this kind of thing before, and I'm curious to see what happens here.
Thank you. Thank you, Matt.
Yeah. All right. The next thing we have on the agenda is washing the conformance testing dishes. Did we have somebody who wanted to talk to this?
Yes, thank you. Rian speaking. I'm from II. We're cleaning up conformance testing, and we've just about through most of the apps endpoints. We created 3 more E2E tests. They follow exactly the same pattern that we have in other conformance tests already merged. So, and they have been reviewed already. So we would just appreciate if we can get an approve on those, so we can get them on the test grid. Anybody that have the ability to approve, we'll really appreciate. But then we can get it in this release. There's some real good work being done on the apps endpoints over the last few releases. And we hope by the end of this release, we will have just 7 apps endpoints untested if we can get these 3 in. And that's it.
Yeah, that would be great. Down to just 7. That would be fantastic. I like testing, so I'm happy to see this.
The only ones remaining, I dropped the, I'm trying to drop the link. Let me just, doesn't want to drop the link. There we are. I dropped the link so you can have a look at the API snoop in the chat. You can see the coverage there. The only one that's going to be left is the family of controller revision. I'm not sure if it's eligible. We haven't studied it yet. If there's anybody that want to reach out and tell us a little about controller revision. It's a family of 7 endpoints that we would like to make a life cycle test and try and catch all of them in the next release in one test.
All right. Well, I think Ken is on, and Mache and Janet, and they usually have pretty good coverage over this. So we'll go take a look. Thank you.
Thank you. I really appreciate your support, and I'll report back in your meeting as soon as I've got 10 other endpoints already waiting. It's the conformance promotions is ready. I'm taking it out to SIG Apps meeting tomorrow. So by tomorrow, you'll have 10 more conformant endpoints, and these just need to do their 2 weeks on the test grid, and then you've got 7 more.
Great. Thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you very much for your support.
Do we have any other discussion topics? This consider it a time of open discussion. If anybody had anything else they would like to talk about now. All right. It doesn't sound like we have anything else. So thank you everyone for coming. You can get a little more than 20 minutes back of your meeting time. Have a wonderful week, and we'll be back here in a couple of weeks. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Cheers.
Thank you.
Thank you.